In a raw and emotionally charged moment, AEW's Jon Moxley has broken his silence following Solo Sikoa's brutal betrayal of Jacob Fatu, sending shockwaves through both WWE and AEW. Speaking from the shadows in a gritty, unscripted promo, Moxley addressed the escalating chaos within the bloodline, drawing on his own history of brotherhood and betrayal. His heartfelt message to Jacob Fatu wasn't just a call for vengeance, it was a plea for resilience. As tensions rise and boundaries blur, Moxley's words may be the spark that ignites an unprecedented showdown between wrestling's two most dominant empires, WWE and AEW. A stark setting, Moxley speaks from the underground. The video was simple in presentation, but haunting in tone. Released across social media and circulated by both Wrestling Insiders and AEW's official channels, the footage featured Jon Moxley standing alone in a dimly lit, industrial basement. The harsh flicker of a single overhead bulb cast long shadows against concrete walls. Sweat glistened on his chest as he paced back and forth, eyes sunken but burning with purpose. There was no crowd. No music. No dramatics. His words were low, gravelly, and delivered like a confession, heavy with resentment, restrained fury, and hard-earned wisdom. Solo Sikoa's attack on Jacob Fatu had crossed a line. Not just in storyline. Not just in factional politics. But in a sacred space Moxley knew all too well, family betrayal, and the cost of brotherhood torn apart. Moxley calls out Solo Sikoa, "You burned your blood." Moxley addressed Solo directly, his voice like sandpaper against silence. There was no theatrics in his delivery, only brutal sincerity. Solo Sikoa was condemned not just for his violence, but for the meaning behind it. In turning on Jacob Fatu, Solo had violated the unspoken oath passed down through generations of Samoan warriors: protect the blood, never spill it for pride. Moxley reflected on his own past, his own brothers, Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins, and the wounds that still hadn't healed. "You're not carving your legacy, Solo," Moxley stated in the recording. "You're erasing theirs." The betrayal mirrored the Shield's disintegration. It wasn't just wrestling history repeating, it was a generational trauma unfolding in front of millions. A direct plea to Jacob Fatu. In a powerful pivot, Moxley turned his address toward Jacob Fatu, the fallen titan of the bloodline. Images of Jacob being stretchered away after Solo's assault played across screens all week, and Moxley's emotional plea added another layer of poignancy. He did not yell. He didn't shout for revenge. Instead, he offered solidarity. "Jacob," he said, voice low and eyes downcast, "I've felt that steel in my spine. I've woken up staring at the ceiling, wondering why my own turned on me." He encouraged Fatu not to isolate, not to retreat, but to rise. To remember who he is. Not just as a bloodline soldier, but as a warrior in his own right. The message wasn't just one of support, it was a call to arms. The attack wasn't the end of Jacob Fatu, it was his rebirth. AEW versus WWE, the invisible line begins to crack. Moxley's message marked more than personal reflection. It hinted at something larger, something that until now had only lived in fantasy, the crumbling of the invisible wall between WWE and AEW. Without naming the promotions directly, Moxley's words dripped with implication. This business is split in half, but the pain. The pain is the same. Betrayal doesn't need a logo. It leaves the same scars no matter the locker room. The message was clear. The line in the sand is growing thinner. What was once impossible, AEW and WWE stars crossing paths in mutual storytelling, now feels eerily plausible. Moxley, once Dean Ambrose of WWE fame, now the soul of AEW, has stepped into the bloodline's implosion like a prophet from a rival world. Fan response, shock, emotion, and speculation. The wrestling community responded instantly and explosively. Hashtags like #MoxleySpeaks, #Solo Sikoa, #Jacob Fatu, and hashtag AEVSWWE trended globally within minutes of the video's release. Online forums ignited with theories of an impending interpromotional storyline, with fans calling Moxley's promo one of the most emotionally charged moments in modern wrestling history. Former wrestlers, journalists, and legends weighed in. Many praised Moxley's restraint, his realism, and the grounded humanity in his message. For all his violence and blood-soaked matches, Moxley's greatest weapon remains his voice, and he wielded it with precision and power. The bloodline fractures as factions loom. Internally, WWE is reportedly playing into the growing chaos. Sources suggest that the bloodline storyline is set to spiral into full civil war, with Solo Sikoa forming his own renegade faction and potential allies on the horizon. With Roman Reigns still absent, the kingdom stands leaderless. And vultures are circling. Jacob Fatu is expected to make his return in the coming weeks, and many believe his alignment with Moxley, even unofficially, could symbolize something bigger, the crumbling of brand borders and the rise of a new, open-ended era in professional wrestling. If Moxley appears ringside at SummerSlam, the industry may never be the same. Wrestling's next war, brotherhood, betrayal, and boundaries broken. As the dust settles, one thing is certain, the spirit of wrestling is changing. Storylines no longer live inside a single company's borders. Emotions now bleed from one ring to another. And with Jon Moxley standing in solidarity with Jacob Fatu, against Solo Sikoa's betrayal, the future looks unstable, chaotic, and thrilling. This is more than a feud. This is more than a rivalry. This is war. Not just between men, but between philosophies. Between promotions. Between legacies.